Welcome to another exciting episode of Humanity 8.0, a podcast where we talk about movements and initiatives that seek to move humanity to its next epochal iteration. This podcast is brought to you by Witlingo. When it comes to managing a community, one of the keys to success is the ability to effectively communicate with the members of that community. If you are a service coordinator or responsible for community engagement, Witlingo provides a multi-channel, multilingual notification and engagement platform to help you work more efficiently and effectively. For more information, please visit www.witlingo.com. That's www.witlingo.com. And now, here's your host, Dr. Ahmed Bouzid.
Okay, so now let me ask you a difficult question, perhaps, or maybe it's not a difficult question, which is how would you position yourself or differentiate yourself from the incumbent?
Well, I am not beheld to party, and if I catch that lightning in a bottle and I'm still going for it and I get elected, I don't have to toe a party line. I obviously your first priority is vote, the will of your constituents. But there also is that vote of conscience that also, I think, becomes part of the calculus and the being of how you conduct yourself. So I just think not being beheld to party. I mean, I'm not Pollyannish to think that, okay, because I'm independent, it's going to be easy for me to cross the aisle back and forth. I mean, I still think, that's a world that I will have a lot to learn. But I do think just a voice of not being about party first would be really refreshing. And I've always said, boy, I wish we had like 50, and that, independent doesn't automatically mean you are, which I think is important, moderate, centrist, willing to, just be reasonable. And that's not automatic if you're independent. I mean, you could be independent and be way out here or way out there.
We've seen that.
But I think, just kind of a working from the middle out I would love to see us working that way, as opposed to the two parties just positioning and then maybe compromising on some things. But I think if you work from the middle out, you start with just a more reasonable baseline. But again, do we have enough of that? Do we have that culture in the U.S. Congress? I don't see it from, at least from what I witness. And I think if we had, 50 centrists who were the starting point, as opposed to the Speaker of the House being a Republican or a Democrat that just drives an agenda, I think we would see a lot more productive legislation without all the fighting.
Well, I mean, for me, I think not being part of a political machine is a huge plus. It is a huge plus because I think the level of destruction and irrationality that is being caused by these machines is just mind-boggling across the board, domestically. Yeah. Now, let's go to the to a point that you made early on, which is, there's this artificial pitting of blue against red, when in fact, when you go to the issues, there's a lot of consensus. I'm going to share with you some of my research. I'm going to share with you some of the consensus that I've found. For example, a ban on assault weapons. 65% of Americans support that. Okay. The public option in healthcare. 57% of Americans support that. The minimum wage, right? 62% of Americans support that. Environment, 2/3 of Americans think that the government should do more. Okay, labor, 7 out of 10 support labor unions. The military, 56% of voters want to decrease the budget. So majorities, like things like the Patriot Act, 58% of even Republicans, right? Forget about it, want to, bring that to a close because it's just to, right? Reproductive rights, 60% of Americans say abortion should be legal in all, in all or most of cases, right? Now there is so the majority of Americans have on the main issues. There's a consensus on that. Okay. Privatizing, prison systems, right? Huge majority doesn't want that. Okay. And then you have these parties where, when you look at what has the Congress, right, aligned itself with public opinion, with general public, right? Gun control, nothing much happening. The healthcare, public option, not even Democrats are supporting it, right? Minimum wage, we haven't gone anywhere with it much, really. The environment, issue after issue, this is where the people stand. This is where we have, as a government, stood for the last 3, 4, 5 decades, right? Right. And if there's any change, it is a divergence from public opinion, not a convergence towards it.
Right.
So those are basic facts that I think make the case, in my opinion, for non-partisanship. So let's say if you go and you say, listen, here's where the people stand, here's where the parties stand, right? Whether blue or right. I mean, there is a consensus among those parties, it seems to me, to go against public opinion. It feels issue after issue after issue after issue. Now, I want to do this thought experiment with you, because I think it's going to be interesting given where you are, which is as follows, right? Imagine that your platform was the following. I am David Kennedy, and I want to be a true representative of the majority of my people, right? I have zero opinions on anything. I do not matter in the equation. I'm a pure avatar of you. When a bill comes in front of me, and again, let's fantasize together, okay? When a bill comes in front of me, right, I have a representative sample of the population. I think, what is the population? It's like 600,000, 400,000?
Yeah.
Something along those lines, right? I have a representative population that we have mobile apps, so we have the technology. We're not living in the 19th century, right? And whenever a bill comes, these guys will be told, boom, notification, they say yes or no, and it will be, again, technology. And I'm a technologist, so I have to bring in technology here. The bill, if you read it, you're not going to understand the damn thing. It's written in all kinds of arcane language. It will be summarized for you so you can understand that one paragraph. And then, boom. And then we have the crowd, the wisdom of the crowd comes in, and you will vote, you devote yourself, you promise to vote exactly as the people want you to vote, issue after issue. When you campaign, you stand nowhere. I campaign and I give you my promise that I will vote on every single issue the way you want me to vote. Boom. Now tell me, number one, what's your gut reaction to that? Because the more I think about it, the more I think about how if we were to do that, the parties would disappear. You'd not be held to any campaign money. Nobody's going to come to you because you are nobody when it comes to your opinion. You have no agency. So tell me, I know I'm hitting you with something that is totally out of left field, but tell me, what are your thoughts?
Well, I just make a quick comment on your will of the people on these issues, 60%,
Sure.
A bunch of them. I do look at states like North Carolina.
Sure.
That is so gerrymandered. And we're learning it's, close to a 50-50 state. But I think congressional seats, the way they've written their maps, there's something like 2/3 to 1/3 to Republican. Sure. So the will, you have a delegation from North Carolina that can't in the House that's not going to really reflect the will of North Carolinians. So, I mean, that gerrymandering does become
No, it's not a perfect. The question is it better? I guess go ahead. Yeah.
So I was thinking when you were explaining the thought experiment, I was thinking a good issue would be minimum wage.
Right.
Which if I would, I do support, what's it still, the federal is 750. I think we need a much better baseline. 15 is the number. 15 is probably not the right number for our district, but still, let's say I support the minimum wage and say, it's even, 60% plus of the constituents in this district support it. I'm thinking though, I've talked to a lot of small businesses and just entrepreneurs, a lot of them foreign born who've moved here, a lot who are, just people looking at a second career, people who just have that spirit. I have a lot of respect for that community. My guess is that community might not be as positive towards supporting minimum wage.
Sure.
So in this experiment, the way the rules of the experiment are set up, and say I was neutral,
Mm-hmm.
I would obviously vote in favor of the minimum wage. But I think the experiment kind of fails when because I'm not an avatar. And I need, I want to know my constituents. And when I talk to the small business community and I say I'm an avatar that just operates based on the will of my district, and the answer was 62%, so I had to vote for it.
Yep.
I don't have any. I think I cut off dialogue from that community. Now,
Yeah,
it's still my.
But you are not supposed to have dialogue. That's my point. You are. You have to. You have to completely devote yourself of your ego and your thoughts. You are simply the point is, will we have a better system, right? Where the political party is no longer a thing, where lobbyists have no longer a leverage, where the will of people, even if you have 51% of the people, 49% are going to be pissed off for this issue, they'll be happy for the other issue. So it's a little bit tough to, I guess. But just think about, do you think that if you were to campaign, say, I stand on nothing, you are the center of attention. You don't need to convince me at any given time. I will simply be a conduit to your will. And sometimes, like you were saying at the very beginning, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and all we can say is we are living in a real democracy, not an oligarchy where, I mean, it's pretty depressing to see, a congressman, thinking that they are above the people and they petition to them, please, and here are offerings, please vote in this way. And
so
go ahead.
Here's still where I'm going to use the minimum wage as an example. I mean, so now what if the choice was a minimum wage of, $15 an hour, which I think is, again, for this area, in some ways it's a no-brainer because I think that's the will. But what if all of a sudden we were talking about a minimum wage of $30 an hour? And you started to hit an issue there where it started to be, well, that actually could create an unemployment issue because certain businesses just can't afford it. So the will of the people still says, now it's dropped down. Maybe it's not 62%. Now it's 58%.
Sure.
But economists that do studies that say 30% is going to actually increase on $30 per hour is going to increase unemployment by X.
Yep.
Then, even though the will of the people said yes to the $30 an hour, the outcome might actually not be the best outcome for the district. So I'd be worried
Yeah.
I mean, there's always nuance.
Sure,
And
sure. And that's what the so-called experts, they love to focus on that.
yeah,
Not smart enough, you people, you unwashed people, right? Let us
uh,
do the work for you because we
yeah,
have degrees. We have degrees and we know things you don't know. Go do your thing and go attend your
yeah,
baseball games and your football games. Keep yourself entertained and take care of your garden in the back. And then we'll do things for you, as opposed to, which means that the dynamic is remain ignorant, and that's okay because we're here for you, as opposed to what happens in this here.
yeah,
Okay, you made a decision, the decision has consequences. The people, then the focus will be on ensuring that that the people are educated, and we are
yeah,
in a place where people get educated. So it raises the IQ of the citizen in this case,
yeah,
as opposed to it lowers it on the other one and creates all kinds of artificial dynamics, right? The party, the
yeah,
experts, they come in and they tell us about, we need to build more bases because, we need to develop democracy, and
yeah,
they have slogans and they have all things, and they like to have the people be as dumb as possible. So for me, it is the will of the people. The people will make mistakes, but the dynamic is they will probably, if they feel their mistake, they will change. And then
mhm,
the focus will be on get yourself educated citizen, right? And the political class, if there is a class in this case, right, will have to be, or the people who want the society to be healthy, they will know that it will be healthy to the extent that the people are not making very narrowly informed decisions, right? So that's
yeah,
not pushback to that.
yeah. No, I mean, it's interesting. And I think there's some issues that, might be conducive towards that. And I think how they're framed. I'm also thinking, though, again, back to part of your experiment has to get rid of, yeah, the political parties can't be a starting point because
Yeah.
you're back to, it's really interesting, when I talk to introduce myself there. I mean, everybody knows who's running for president.
Yeah.
Not everyone knows,
No.
even, Don Beyer, not everyone is attuned that he's been
Well, I mean,
our,
I'm supposed to be a tune. I didn't know who was a Republican. So there you go. You make
yeah,
the point is well taken.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's there's, because there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot. So if you don't, I think, again, that's why I think the political parties, kind of, it gives an inherent advantage to, in this district, the Democrats, because if I am not really, I care about I'm voting for president, and I see all these down ballot things, and if I haven't done my research, I'm just probably going to vote. Well, I tend to support the Democrats, so I'm going to vote the Democrat. I
Exactly.
support the Republicans, so I'm going to
Yeah.
vote for
That's it.
Torres. Here's this guy Kennedy. Maybe the only thing that works. I never don't know anything about him, but he's a Kennedy. Maybe I'll vote for him.
A
And
lot of
let
people
so
are going to vote for third party for sure this year because a lot of Democrats, like I'm a dyed in the wool Democrat, but I'm not going to vote Democrat this year because of many issues. I'm just
yeah,
completely disgusted by how the Biden administration has done many things that are important to me and fundamentally have violated some of my key. So I'm going to vote
mm,
independent. I'm not going to vote
yeah,
Trump. So I'm going to vote independent. So there is a lot of dissatisfaction, a lot of this. So let me ask you one last question. If you were to go out there, right? So it's all
mm,
about differentiating and like getting attention from the media and getting people to say this guy is interesting. If you were to go out there and say, David Kennedy, I am voting to represent the will of the people and purely the will of the people. They're like, what does that mean? And then you intrigue them by this notion that I am going to be a non-partisan political, and in fact, I have zero stand on any issue. What do you mean? Well, let's have a debate. And when in your debate, the guy is saying, I stand on this, and you say, you know what I
yeah,
stand? I stand with the people, and I have zero. So next question. So your mission becomes really, let's say if you get elected, your mission becomes how do I ensure that the people are educated as much as possible? How do I make sure that they get to speak? So you create town halls, you get them to talk, you get the minorities to go out and express themselves. You create sort of a democratic, you're pushing for more voices, more inclusions from the people with the statement from you, which is the intriguing statement, I stand I stand completely and every issues with the majority of my constituency. How do you think if you were to go out and do that? How do you think they would receive you? How would the journalist write you up? You think?
Maybe you're a step ahead of me, Ahmed. I mean, maybe that's I do, I get letters from newsletter from Don Beyer,
Yeah.
but you know what? I am not aware of his last town hall.
You see?
And maybe and I will say one thing a promise I will absolutely make is I will be accessible and I will be out there, because that's how the way you described it is, I do think how our representatives should be. They
Yeah.
should be out in the community.
They
They
should
should
represent.
be
Yeah, they should
going
listen.
to they should be doing Meals on Wheels once a week, just I mean, I've met a group of folks who meet at a church out in Ballston, and I showed up one day. I was actually meeting with a woman who represents a nonprofit called Arlington Thrive. So we spoke, and as I was leaving, their offices are in the Presbyterian Church. As I was leaving, it's a whole group of people outside in the parking lot, Meals on Wheels volunteers who were doing food distribution. Some were going to be driving and doing deliveries. But I think,
Yeah,
as a representative,
that's
you know
beautiful.
what? That's the kind of stuff I should be doing.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Being with the people, enabling people to speak, right? That's what you do day in and day out. What does this guy,
Yeah.
Don Bayer, do? He hobnobs with his political cronies, right? He hobnobs with the lobbyists. That's what he does most of the time. I just got like an email, I don't know, a few days ago from Don Bayer. I don't get, I'm on his newsletter. All of a sudden, Don Bayer has a thing where he is going to, if you have any constituency issue, passport issues, please come to the center because he's doing something. What do you mean? I mean, the last 2 years, I didn't hear anything from you except from the usual, posturing, about this and that. That is completely predictable, right? Of course, you're going to say that. Of course, you're going to say that. All of a sudden, he has this interest in hobnobbing with us, the people, so to speak, right? At the last minute, because now it's election time. Now, imagine this guy, instead of doing that, which is like pretty insulting, as if there's a debate, what is he going to focus on? He's going to focus on the hot button issues, right? The things where if you don't vote for him, you're putting yourself in peril. And so you have no choice. He's like putting you in a corner, right? Whereas, if we had somebody who is completely committed as being a conduit of the people, and the only thing that he cares about or she cares about is enabling the people to speak, providing them a platform, getting them and listening with the purpose of, there's no courage here. I'm going to do exactly what the people want me to do. And what I hate the most, to be honest with you, David, is this. When people say, well, this politician, he has political courage. He voted against the will of the people. Really? Really? Okay. It's nice. Interesting, right? Interesting.
Right.
How political courage becomes
Right.
it becomes a laudable something that you praise someone for deviating from the will of you, because the people don't know apparently what they want,
Right.
or they are
Right. Yeah.
misguided, right? Where here you're saying, I efface myself, I efface my ego, I efface my values. I'm here to serve democracy in the purest form possible, and this is why you should vote for me. And I think in this age of discontent where we are right now, people are really fed up with the political parties, right?
Yeah.
That might resonate. And again, this is my fantasy.
Well, it's a good challenging question, and I appreciate it. I will say Tuesday night, September 3rd,
Yep.
there will be a candidates forum, and there are four candidates. There's Torres, the Republican, Beyer, the Democrat. There's another independent, Bentley Hensel, and then myself, Dave Kennedy. So the forum is at Virginia Hospital Center in Arlington. They have an audit. It's sponsored by the Arlington Civic Federation. So if you go to civfed.org, civfed.org, it's on their front page. Yeah, Arlington Civic Federation.
And you said, what time would it be?
I think the doors open, I want to say at 7 or 6:30. The candidate, there's going to be the school board,
Yep.
then the county board, and then the congressional seat. Those started, I believe, at 8 o'clock.
8-ish.
Maybe
Okay.
no, maybe I think it's 8 o'clock that those
Okay,
start.
I'll check it out. I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna go and attend. I'm gonna get to meet you.
Excellent. I'll be there. Yep.
Wonderful. Well, okay, so last words. What do you want to tell? Let's say why again? Why should I vote for you? Because I am available to be convinced. So
Okay.
it's not gonna
Hey,
be
you know what?
gunfire. It's not gonna be
You
the. Go ahead.
you kind of answered it. I mean, well, number one, it's I think bread and butter issues are what people care about, quality of life issues. And there's whether it's affordable housing, whether it's safe streets. I think those are just issues people, that those affect their lives immediately, and they just want solutions and I think we're falling down in certain areas there. So I think issue wise, yes. Second, again, an independent, I think is just in a better position. I think that's how I think that's what I'm seeing from people I talk to. But I think the third thing then is what we've wrapped up on. I'm just going to be out there, and you know what? I'm not going to be knocking on doors necessarily at that point, but I'm going to be at community. I mean, that would be my focus, is just being in the community, and I love doing it. I love meeting people. I've seen the diversity in this district. I've gotten to use my high school Spanish on occasion, and I'm getting better and better there. And I just think this is, it's a rich district. When I say rich, people are just amazing people. And I am going to, like you said, be there to listen, and represent the people.
Yeah, yeah. I think I don't want to pretend to be a political consultant, but I think if you were to position yourself as, let's say, if you were to say, Don Bayer, how many town halls you've done? You've done 6, right? If I promise you, like a promise, right? I will do one every week. I'll do a town hall every single week, and I will listen to the people. And I'm not beholden to the political pay. I do not belong to anyone. Nobody owns me, and I owe no one anything. I am here to listen and to translate the will of the people in the way I vote. Tell them I will not take any courageous votes. I will take them that align with the will of the people, right? I think that might get you some attention. Who knows? But I think in this atmosphere right now, where people are really fed up, I cannot believe that I'm not going to vote for a Democrat, right? But it has taken a lot to get me to this point. But I will not vote for the DNC. There's no way. I will not vote for the Republicans. I will either not vote, but I don't feel like I'm a good citizen if I don't. I'll vote for someone like yourself, right? Who promises. Hopefully, you are making the promise officially, right? You promise to listen, right?
I like that one town hall per week.
One time, you like ambitious.
I might steal it from you.
Go for it. I'll be there cheering for you, my friend. I'm telling you, people want to be listened to. They have been ignored for too long, right?
Yeah.
The interest of the powerful. I mean, you saw this thing I just read yesterday in the New York Times, where Kamala Harris's promise to tax the ultra rich, right, is being backtracked because the donors are telling her, maybe you don't want to do that. The ultra rich donors, right? And watch how she's going to dilute that, right? So they listen to these folks because that's where the money is, but they don't listen to the people where the votes are, right?
Right.
And what they do is they take that money and they bamboozle us during election time. They scare the hell out of us, and that's how they get in to continue with their, business plan, so to speak, right? How to enrich themselves, how to, ensconce themselves in there. And this guy has been there long enough, right? He needs to give up a place to. Anyway, so hopefully I will see you for sure there. It's going to be really interesting. I'm going to learn a lot. I've learned a lot from you already. And I appreciate your time very much, David Kennedy.
All right, Ahmed. Thanks for great talking to you. Good luck with this series of podcasts you're doing. I think it's
I'll keep you posted. It will turn
important.
into a book sometime next year. I'll collect these conversations, and there's a nice theme published. I'll make sure, obviously, that I'll give you a draft so you can take a look at it before it goes out. But if people want to find out more about you, the website is davidkennedy2024.com. Is it
Dave Kennedy.
Dave Kennedy? So it's Dave Kennedy dot 2024.com. I'll be sure to include that in the podcast notes. David Kennedy, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ahmed. Appreciate it. Have a great
You.
one.
You too.
Okay,
Take
bye.
care. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Humanity 8.0 with your host, Dr. Ahmed Bouzid, founder and CEO of Witlingo.